So, hello everyone, or anyone, if anybody's watching this. I'm Sam, and here you're at SSD HQ. This is where I like to make all the magic happen now. I just thought I'd give you a little rundown on who I am, who I am running this channel, why I'm running it. So, yeah, basically, I'm a lifelong reptile keeper. I've been keeping reptiles on and off since I was 6 years old. I'm coming up to 25 now, so I've got quite a bit of experience. I started off with all the usual stuff. I had a leopard gecko and a corn snake, and that did me until I became an adult. That's when I dove into retics. They've always been, for me, the pinnacle of the snake hobby. They're the biggest snake in the world. That's pretty damn cool. So yeah, here you join me in my shed. It's not like a lot of these things you'll see in the States where people have got big houses, they have a lot of room, and they have a lot of opportunity to keep things in a lot of space. In the UK, like house space, that's a premium. A lot of keepers have to be intelligent with how they keep their animals, so they can get the most out of their space, which I like to think I've got here. In the shed currently, we've got 5 kind of adult retics. We've got one big girl in here. This is Anne. This is a 10-year-old female mainland anthrax. She's pushing about 16 foot. She's no monster by mainland retic standards, but she's a good sized snake. Just below her, you can't see her right now on the tripod, there is a 10-year-old 50% dwarf, sunfire, het albino. She's lovely, and I really like having these two, one on top of the other. It's a really great visual representation of what that dwarf blood and obviously super dwarf blood can do within the animals. And in the bottom, Viv, a guy that I'm having to get out today, much to my horror, really, is a wild caught Retic ghost. He was caught in Sumatra, and he hasn't been in captivity very long. He's been in captivity for about 2 years now, maybe just over, coming up to 3 years. Behind me there, we have a 75% super dwarf amaretto. She's beautiful, but like most beautiful girls, she's got an attitude. And then below her, who you can't see because he's hiding away in a little corner there, that's Ringo. That is a Aztec sunfire. He's an absolute stunner, like a bar of gold when he's fired up. Something really beautiful. He's 25% dwarf, so 25% Jampea, which probably won't have the biggest of effects on his growth. Obviously, it'll affect something, but there we go. So the reason I'm making this video and making a YouTube channel is just to try and show a bit more of the real stuff of keeping reptiles. See a lot of content out there, and a lot of the content that got me really heavily into reptiles, which is amazing. But it just kind of shows all the glamour side of things. It's babies hatching, it's breeding, it's handling, and it's all the nice stuff where when keeping things like retics, which they go to the bathroom a lot, the vast majority of my time keeping these animals is actually spent cleaning. So I've got a few snakes to clean today, which we're going to go through. Obviously, one which is going to be the exciting one, I need to clean the ghost out. He dislikes people that much. I actually built him like a locking hide box in there. So that has worked really well up until this point for me, because I haven't had to stress him out, stress myself out by handling him. But because he really likes his locking hide box, he's been going to the bathroom in there for the last, a couple of weeks. He's stopped venturing out as much, and he just stays in there. He knows he's safe in there, and today I'm going to ruin that for him. So I'm going to show you a little bit of handling of a snake that really doesn't want to be handled, and Mike talk more about my ethos on it, and why I do things like make him a locking hide box, which at the end of the day is because it stresses him out. I'm not going to get any medals personally for handling him, getting nailed by him, stressing him out, making it an unpleasurable experience for myself. So for the most part, where I can, I'm going to try and do everything with these animals as safely and as gently as possible, because You know, I want to keep these things happy and healthy, and being stressed doesn't bode well for the animal being healthy, does it? Really, you know, I could go in there and grab him behind back of head and wrestle him out and throw him in a tub full of water for a bit, and then grab him behind back of head again, throw him in there, or adversely, I could give him a couple of meals, but I also don't like doing that because that's also dangerous. You know, you're dealing with a snake in their food response thought like process. It's not very clever. You know, I don't think that's very clever, and I think it'll be a learned behaviour over time that any time you're near them, it's food time. And anyone who's watching this channel who keeps retics, they'll know that the minute that you slide that glass, these snakes think it's food time. So giving them even more reason to think that, I don't think is too beneficial. So the next time you see me, we'll be getting the ghost out, and we'll be having a bit of handling. We'll be getting him in a soak, clean his viv out, and then once he's dealt with, we'll be dealing with the sunfire, who is typically a fairly mellow snake. She's pretty chill, but we are now coming into the time of year where these snakes are thinking about cycling. They're wanting to get into their breeding patterns. Their bodies are telling them they need to be slamming food, so they've got enough calorific material in them to be able to build follicles to be ready to breed. I don't particularly want to breed this female this season. I don't think. I've got 2 clutches that I'm planning so far, which will be enough work and enough time dealing with these. So there we go. So here we are. One ghost in his lovely little locking hide box, and one tub of water. Let's see how well or how poorly this goes. Ugh. So this fella, since he's come into captivity, hasn't really been handled at all, which makes my job really, really fun. So we're going to err on the side of caution and do everything with tools as much as we can. Looks like he's going into shed. Oh, yes, he is, deep in shed. Now I hope that means he's going to be a little bit more cooperative than he has been the last few times I've dealt with him. Chuck us that big hook, Jack, please. I don't know what's going to be my best method here. I was kind of hoping he was going to help me make some decisions, but it doesn't look like he's in the mood to be bothered. Alright, dude, you're okay. We're just going to go nice and slowly. Yeah. We're just going to take our time. Try and get him in a soak, which he really doesn't want to do. Just take our time. You're okay, dude. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Oh. He loves backing himself up against walls. And he's now weeing. At least it's not on me. You're okay, dude. You're okay. Let's just calm down a little bit.
I just want to get you in a nice bath. Which I know is the last thing you want to do, is deal with me. And I can see you've left me a lovely pile of urates there. Thank you. If you want to come towards me, that'd be great. See, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want you in this tub. And if you could go in there on your own, that would be very useful. Oh, you are so fired up. You're alright, bro. You're okay. It's calm. That's it. Come into that tub. Get yourself a nice drink. Just stay nice and calm. I'm not going to hurt you, and I don't want you to hurt me, dude. So come on. I have the feeling most of his displays there will be on the wrong side of this box for the camera. There you go. Now, and there we go. Hopefully as stress-free as possible, and not with the most talking. But the ghost is in the box, and now he's having a soak. And now you can see why I built a locking hide for him, because he really doesn't enjoy that. And neither did I. So, we'll cut back to you once I've done with some cleaning.
Right then, guys. So, in the heat of the battle with the ghost, I didn't talk too much. So, just gonna talk you through there. So when I unscrewed the lid, I was then really gently using the hook to just try and see what kind of mood he's in. I was hoping that with him being in shed, well, kind of because he was in shed, he was a little bit more mellow than he normally is, which is why you saw me, giving him so much caution. It was a little bit more of a long-winded process than I hoped for, getting him into the box. You could see, like, pretty immediately he weed. I think he was hoping to land that on me, but I could hear it coming and managed to let go in time. A few times on there, you'll see he tries to run away, and they're kind of your safe moments, if you will, to try and kind of maneuver them and handle them, because he's not actively thinking about like striking at me and getting me. Although he is a very, very intelligent, wiry old boy. This fella survived in the wild for quite a long time, looking how he does. And typically, your wild animals in the wild, they're surviving from blending in. They're surviving from using their body's cryptic camouflage to hide in foliage and in trees.
You know, a lot of these snakes live around trees, woodland, cave systems. And as you can see from looking at him, there's nothing he's blended in with in the wild, is there? You know, he's a white and yellow and like purple snake, for God's sakes, you know. So I would say that he's probably survived so long and so well because he knows how to fight, because he knows how to defend himself. Not because he's aggressive, he's just defending himself and looking after himself. So now I've got the really fun task of getting him back in his viv. So the game plan here is I'm going to gently take the lid off and hope that he doesn't just dart out and get himself somewhere I don't want him in the snake room. I'm going to use that lid as a shield on my legs in case he strikes at my legs. I don't want to get nailed. And I'm going to try and gently position him looking into the vivarium. I will adjust the camera momentarily to try and give you a better view. This is only my first time doing this, so I'm sure we'll learn a few lessons along the way. But yeah, and another really important thing when you're dealing with large snakes, and especially ones that are, you know, fairly cantankerous and don't want anything to do with you, always have some help on hand. So I've got my fiance and my housemate there, well within earshot, ready to jump in case he does grab a hold of me and I do need some help. Fortunately, he isn't the biggest snake in the world, but he is a very strong, powerful snake, and that makes this quite fun. So here we go. Let's have a gentle go at getting him back in his vivarium. But like I say, everything that I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to be as gentle and as calm and relaxed through the process as I can to try and help the snake be just the same. So here we go. So straight away he's trying to hide from me in there. He's dipping under the water. He doesn't want anything to do with me, and I get that. I get that. You know, a hairless ape like myself caught him in the wild, manhandled him over from Sumatra to the UK, and so he's fed up with us. I just want to put you back in your home. But obviously he doesn't understand all this. I'm going to see if I can gently cover him back up and manoeuvre the box without causing too much stress, to try and get this box in a slightly better position for us. Probably use the other side of the viv. Get that glass shut. So I'm now going to do this with myself firmly outside of the shed. Which, yet again, I ain't looking for any medals. I ain't proving that I'm hard by keeping these snakes. I keep these snakes because I like them. Which gets you into these kinds of predicaments, I'm afraid. Right then, dude. Let's see what we can do from here. I need to get a bit more room. All I need for him to start to do is venturing out. See, he sees the lid and he sees me and he doesn't want anything to do with me. But he also isn't realising what I want to do with him, which is a real shame right now. Because I've got one big beautiful lady for you as well. So we're just going to go nice and steady again. Now he's mostly out of the box. Now his front end's in the viv. That's yourself. Don't bite yourself. So, At current, if he realises that he can move away, we're going to be safe, because he's going to go back into his vivarium. I'm going to shut the glass, and that can be the end of our escapade. So now he's moving. That's really good. Now I need to come in and slowly shut that glass behind him so he doesn't fly back out. And obviously now the glass is stuck. And there we have it. So a little bit more long-winded than I hoped, but there we have one wild caught snake back in his hole. So now all that excitement's over, we're going to deal with a snake who's a bit more tolerable of handling than the ghost is, but she's really hungry at the minute. So we're still going to err on the side of caution with her. I'm just going to wait till her face is in a position to where I can touch her to let her know it's not food time. If I start touching her back and stuff, she's going to think, oh, let's get excited. And I can see from her face now she's really excited. So we're just going to push her away gently. This is what's known in the hobby as tap training. Basically just means before you handle them, you touch them with a hook. And what you're looking for is them to turn away from you and to kind of calm down a little bit. And then you can start moving them. As you can see already, I'm a lot more comfortable and confident handling this snake than the ghost. She is captive bred. She was produced by a friend of mine who actually gave me her and the amaretto and the ghost, called John Edwards. Anyone in the Retic community in the UK will certainly know that name. He's been around a long time. He's done some awesome stuff with dwarf and super dwarf retics, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work with some of his animals. So just nice and steadily, as you can see. We're not trying to manhandle them. I know they're big, strong, powerful creatures, but they really don't respond well to being manhandled. You've just kind of got to take it steady and take your opportunities as they come. And then, as easy as that, you can get them away. So now, passes the camera, we're going to go back into the shed. And as you can see, she's made a bit of a mess. Got a nice shed here, so we're going to get her cleaned up. So, there we go. That's another snake cleaned up. As I said before, this is a snake that I do have quite a lot of trust in. I'll still use my tools to introduce myself once I open the box, because sometimes they like to get all excited when you take that lid off and they think it's food time. As much as I love the animals, they aren't the most intelligent of things. Yeah, you can come a bit closer so you can see her. So here she is in the box. This is the sunfire. Still don't have a name for her, so if anybody has any suggestions of what I could call this lovely, lovely lady, I would love to hear them. But like the ghost before, still going to be a bit quite cautious. I am going to let her have a little stretch out this one. You know, I keep them in vivariums, and I'm not the happiest of the size with them. I think 7 foot by 3 foot is more than enough for her. She's about 11 foot long, this girl. I think that's plenty enough. But when I can, when the weather allows, like it is at the minute in the UK, where it's nice and warm, I like to get them out and I like to let them have a little stretch around and then move about, just to see if they'll work some muscles that they don't normally use. So here she is, and I'm sure you can tell just from my demeanour about her, or around her should I say, I've got a lot more faith in her than I do the ghost. I couldn't have done that with him before, could I? So there you go. I'll try and get her in the sunlight so you can get a bit of a better view of her, because she is a gorgeous, gorgeous girl. She came over with one of the original, well, sorry, her parents came over in one of the original shipments of Retics to the UK from America. One of her parents was produced by J. Brewer at Prehistoric Pets, and the other was produced by Bob Clark Reptiles, and I'm sure if you follow reptiles, or Retics especially, you'll definitely know who those two are. So this is part of like original stock of stuff in the UK. This girl has made many, many clutches of dwarf and super dwarf hybrid babies in this country, and it's a pleasure to own her. So now we're just going to walk her back in. Gently does it as I say it. Probably open the glass up a touch more, and then at some point I'll plonk her in. Once she straightens herself up, there you go, girl. Come out back in your house. And there we go. Now the ones with keen eyes among you may have noticed that we don't have any water bowls in here at the minute, and that is because unfortunately we're treating a mite problem. This is one of those things when you keep reptiles, you get them from time to time. This time I'm fairly certain I got it from some substrate. I put it down before I went on holiday a few weeks ago. 2 days before I went away, boom, I noticed mites on this girl particular. And then I spent 2 weeks in Greece. Well, before I spent 2 weeks in Greece, I cleaned everyone out, put them all on newspaper to try and keep the mite infestation as small as possible. And now we're using hot shot strips just to get on top of it. So hopefully after a couple of months of using hot shot, the mite problem will have subsided. But so far, it is only in these 3 vids I've seen mites. These 2 over here have been absolutely fine. They're free of them. It's mainly been in her viv. Unfortunately, the ghost has picked up a couple, which, other methods of treatment, which are like frontlining the snake, where you rub an anti-mite treatment down the body, are quite obviously not going to work with an animal like that. I could probably do the other 2, these 2 other adults, but then again, I've used hot shot before. It does work. So it's just a bit of a waiting game to hope that we can beat them. But there we go. That's us done cleaning. Next, we've got to feed a few of them, so that should be quite exciting. But that might wait for another video. Cheers.